getting there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this live transmission. Today, I have my dear friend, who I happen to call a genius, as he's an expert in many things, in many topics, and mainly super humble about it. He is Frank Rogala, and we have a few projects together, very exciting ones. We will be sharing some of them in this live. And well, welcome, Frank.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. So yeah, I gave you the wrong name on my book. This is how, you can't trust me. So I have a book coming out in at the end of June, and the pre-sale link is up already, but I'm still editing it like crazy. But it's got a really long title: Saving Civilization, Cracking Open Reality Beyond the Mainstream Veil. And I had to file a patent before the book came out because it involves a new technology of organizing the way that we structure human knowledge. And what happened was I was standing next to Nassim Haramein in Greece, and I think the lightning bolt was supposed to hit him, and it hit me. And I was like, Nassim, what if we restructure human knowledge into a toroidal shape so it's dynamic and that corroborating points can draw neurons in, and then we can weight it however we feel, is important to us for whatever project it is. And then we can build in bias filters because we're biased as humans, and it's changes on the fly, and we can make it color. Anyway, then he just looks at me and goes, oh, that's a good idea. And I was like, crap, okay. And then I just kind of made a little note of it. I thought, well, he doesn't just say that. You know him. He's like, doesn't just say that. So I was talking with William Brown. I was interviewing him in France, and I was relating this discussion. And then William is like almost too smart to talk human, So the whole interview with him, I said, look, yes. I'm going to explain your papers like I'm explaining them to a 7th grader, and then you can tell me if I get it right. And he really loved it. It went really well, but he started using my idea in the context of the interview. And I was like, oh my God, oh no, this is a thing. I'm going to have to do this now, right? So 2 years ago, I did this interview with him, and I haven't edited it yet because I had to start on the book because I couldn't have put an interview out talking about the book that wasn't out yet with the idea. And then when I realized it was a technology, Dan Willis, who worked with Marcel Vogel, was given a technology to use a Vogel crystal wrapped with silver and copper wire, I believe, and I don't know whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, and it creates an energy that just flows. And he was told by this being that gave him the technology that that's how everything that they use works, but that this was only, we had to develop the rest ourselves. So he wrote it all up and did some tests and demonstrated it live. I've seen it live working, and then put it out for development. And really, almost immediately somebody in France filed a patent on it. And so he was able to establish that he had prior art. And basically that's just so you don't have to license your own idea, right, to develop it. And he wanted it to be like I want it to be, open source for people to be able to develop this idea. Because what happens when you put knowledge in the structure is it reveals things immediately. Like it's not a truth machine, but it's, you can see, you can put up there, a pyramid is a tomb, and you put all the evidence up there and you see what corroborates and what's like scientific and what, you know, what the basis of it. And it gets weighted on whether it's been, okay, if it's corroborated with this, it shoots a neuron across. And, you know, are there funerary texts? Are there, you know, any kind of mastaba type things in, you know, all the things that it's not, you know, and and everything goes up there. That's the main thing too, is the way that knowledge is handled now is everything, it has to fit along this line. And if it doesn't fit on this line, it's either considered, you know, debunked or false or an anomaly, and it gets disregarded. And what we all know, things that we were told that were true that we now know are false. And we all know things that we were told were false that we now know are true. And even in physics, things that are constants, like the speed of light or when water boils, these things change under different conditions. So even these
Exactly.
these things are in physics are dynamic as well, but our knowledge structure is rigid, right? That's not the way the universe works. So if you model your knowledge structure on the way the universe works, all of a sudden things just reveal themselves. So then you put up in the same structure all the data points of a pyramid is a machine, right? So, okay, these materials are piezoelectric and these shapes make a waveguide. And, if water flows through limestone, it creates a current. And if you vibrate these things, it also creates a plasma. And, and these things start drawing lines together. And as more discoveries are made and more theories are, it draws it in closer to the center, maybe it becomes redder, and the things on the outside stay blue. So you got pyramid as a tomb is like out here in the blue, right? Sorry, Zai. And then, pyramid is a machine, Christopher Dunn, hey, it pulls in closer. You could do the same thing with why are we going to war in Iran? What is COVID about, right?
Exactly.
You put it up there, all of a sudden, you see it. Now, I have to do, this is one of these things that I spit it out, right? And you're getting it, Nassim got it, William Brown got it, but other people kind of glaze over. And so I know that I have 3 editors on this book because I have an extreme reading disability, and I just needed to make sure the information got across clearly. So I have like a JPL physicist who's responsible for designing the solar panels on the Mars rover, and also the MOXIE project where they built a machine to make oxygen on Mars. And he's also an expert in economic booms and busts, traveled to Mars, Mars itself, 3 other things too. And so he was the first editor. The second editor was Arturo Ponce and my esoteric editor, right? And and then my last editor is my grandma editor. She's a lyricist that I worked with. She's amazing, but I wanted somebody that wasn't completely ensconced in physics and advanced quantum information, and also somebody that didn't necessarily have a deep knowledge of esoterica, and also was just a normal person that was a wordsmith, though, to make sure that my words, because she knows me very, very well. And in fact, when we work together, she's not used to being challenged because she's very good, right? But I kind of
that's a good topic, actually.
Well, so and I'll go, I think we can do better, and she wasn't used to that, right? But so she can turn it around to me with the book, right? But I'm giving her a little bit of a nervous breakdown because as we're coming up to the release date, I realized I was making the whole thing, just explaining it and kind of putting so many topics together that it was like, okay, is this a montage? But what it dawned on me in the last month was the personal anecdotes that I put in and the reasons that it related to me made it much stronger. So I'm having to go through and update almost everything and add these things to it. And then just this morning, I was in the bathtub and a friend sent me, she was really upset because Rihanna or somebody did a music video that kind of copied her music video that she had done a year ago. And she was, anyway, and I was explaining to her, just,
I'm sorry to interrupt, Frank. I'm
yeah.
just asking if people can listen to you clearly, because for me you're breaking up.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm
Is this
just
better? Closer?
I yeah. Go ahead,
Wow,
talk, please.
you are super clear to me. So yeah.
Yeah, but I can hear you breaking up. I don't know.
I wonder if I unplug this headset, will this be better? Let's see.
Yeah,
Is that
because
any
you're
better?
telling, yeah. Oh
One, two,
no, they
three.
say that they say that they listen to you clearly.
Okay,
Okay.
they can hear me okay? Okay. I'm gonna put these back on just so that we won't have any feedback, because I'm hearing your voice really clear and loud. Thank you, everybody, for letting us know.
Yes, thank you, Ceci. Thank you, Alexa. I mean, as I get a grasp of what you're saying because I know your story, and as long as they listen to it properly, we're good to go. Okay, so then again, I'm sorry, you were saying about
Yeah, so this morning, like I'm in the bathtub and this whole chapter like downloaded to me. And I want to get into this concept of the download, right? Because we talk about it a lot, and it happens to us. And I think for other people, it seems a little bit, it's not a normal thing in the everyday world, right? And what happened was, like, I realized from her mentioning this about the music business that there was this whole education that I'd had about how it had been controlled. And literally Bill Clinton went on TV, played sax like he was cool, wore sunglasses, and then signed a bill that destroyed American culture by allowing large corporations to buy up all the local radio stations. And then we used to have Philly soul would erupt out of Philadelphia, and Motown music would come out of Detroit, and surf music would come out of California. It would play on local radio, and then it would erupt and it would spread out, and Chicago blues would come out of Chicago. Suddenly, we had these large companies that were now hiring one consultant, and he would program all the rock stations across the whole country. And you would drive in the car from, Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles, and you would hear the same songs in rotation all the way across the country. And it was like completely an inversion, a deception. And that's part of the theme of my book, is how we're controlled by these things. Like, the Patriot Act is like, if you're against it, you're not a patriot, the way that words are used as control systems. Anyway, so this all came to me this morning, and I was actually a little happy that you were caught in traffic today. I know people were expecting us a little bit earlier, but it gave me a chance to finish the draft. I was able to finish the draft of the chapter and get it to my editor, who I've got to call tonight to calm her down, because she knows we have to get this like finished and to formatting in order to make the release date. And I'm going to be gone, to see you in a few days. And then I've got to go right the week the book is coming out. I'm going to be in Italy with Trevor and Filippo talking about the second Sphinx, So there's not much time left,
I know. I know. And I just to give a little bit of background to the beautiful tribe that is watching us, as you could see, Frank and I share many things. One of them primarily is the passion for unifying things, unifying dots, codes, putting them together in a way that they are better comprehended by everyone, because we do believe that quantum physics, plasma physics, and the unified theory is actually what brings the answers to many questions that have been suspended in the collective for a while, and that they were suspended without addressing to them for a very specific reason, which is control. So now that all this information is out, and there are ways to put all this information in a way that not only it's not only about understanding, it's about owning that information, like saying, yeah, right, it's not that hard, because sometimes we do see like a lot of information, and we say like, okay, yeah, I understand it, but you just let it pass. But when you own it, when it becomes part of you, which is that one of the biggest purposes of your book, right, Frank, to actually make people participate in the universe, feel participating, being part of this universe, and feeling important through this construction. Or what would you say it's your main purpose of your book? Because just that well, what he's talking about is this amazing book that I can't wait to read it. And so what's the main purpose of your book, Frank?
We need to remember how powerful we are. We have been told and hypnotized into thinking that we are weak and subservient. And once we regain our agency, I've been traveling a lot of places, and it just builds up after time. You keep seeing these reliefs with these higher beings and all these humans doing their bidding, and they're at war for this being, and they're doing this. And every time you see a name that's a god, that's not a god. That's a higher being that's exploiting us.
Exactly.
And they're still here. They're still doing it. They're behind the scenes. They're hybridizing. They're still controlling things, and they have no business here. Okay, this is our place. This is our planet, and we have so much at our fingertips. Like, okay, so about a week and a half ago, I'm sitting at a table with Sean's across from me, right? And Jean Charles is right next to me. And I'm like blessing everybody's water at the table, which kind of is like my little hobby, to just like, okay, we're in a restaurant. It's a random place. You don't know where the water comes from. And I'm thinking,
exactly.
Here I am telling Sean about, here's Sean. He's like, the energy just comes out of his hands, right? And I'm like, so I'm doing it to Sean's glass, and I'm talking, I'm like, dude, you can do this. You're like, look at you are one of the people I don't have to explain this to how to do this. Let me just say to everybody, okay, the thing about blessing water, it structures the water. I've tested this. You could test it yourself. I put an exercise in my book. I have a lot of empowerment exercises in my book that will help you regain that understanding of how powerful your consciousness is. And there's simple things that everybody can do. So one of the things is you just get a bunch of solo cups, and you pour the same water in each one, right? Hold your hands around it. Say, it doesn't have to be a Jesus and Mary prayer. It could just be you're giving gratitude for it. You're visualizing it, synchronizing with your energy, and you're being grateful for the hydration it's going to give you. And then another cup, you could write love on it, right? And then maybe if you have a crystal that you've cleared or whatever, you can put the other one on the crystal for 20 minutes, right? Then I don't like to do the negative one of writing hate on one, but if you want to do that, you can do that. And then you can have a control cup, and then you
what about the baptism? It's like, if you see how they do not to enter into any type of like discrepancy, but like all these ancient techniques can be used both sides, both ways, and actually baptism is one of the main examples of the power of water. Like the Bible, when it tells about John the Baptist, how it initiates Yeshua, and we have all these ancient depictions in the temples of in the walls of the temples, and how I don't know if you have seen, and if anyone has gone to Egypt, but there is one that you have two neteru that are known as gods, what Frank was explaining, and they are showering ankhs or keys of life into this plasma field, into the king or the pharaoh, and it's this process of initiation. What you were saying, it's so true. Even the Incas, here in Mexico, shamans, Native Americans, like all these rites of blessing the water, because it's information, it's pure information, it's light, so you're encoding the information. So thank you for bringing this up, Frank, because I think I was talking about this in throughout the week in a show that I did with Tom Mellard, who was also at the Rise of the Guardians. And he comes very much from this Native American wisdom, ancient wisdom. So he was talking about that, like, and how it ripples, like when you listen to a river, how it ripples into your brain, which I would love to know what you think about this. But if we, speaking about brain ripples, how the temples, because also Lydia and Arturo talk about this, how in the temples, the temple lobes, which are very much connected to the temples, and how when you go into a temple like in Egypt, or anywhere in Sardinia or in Peru or Mexico, you name it, and even the ones that they have reconstructed or built recently to recreate that power of resonance, this resonant cavities, you start creating pinoline. So what do
So
you think about that?
yeah. Well, here's what's interesting to me too is like at Abu Simbel, they had moved this entire temple that was down lower, and they brought it up, and they didn't quite align it right, and they had to cut the rocks small because we can't move as big a rocks as the Egyptians did, and I always had resisted going there because it breaks my heart, when they cut things up and move them, or they remove them from their original locations. But I was shocked that I could still feel it, that it was still had its power, just like the it's Isis's temple. It's they had moved it from, because of the flood, over to this island. They didn't align it right. It goes in and it doesn't. They made a turn. I'm like, why would you do this? They cut the stones smaller, to make them move. And I was, I wanted to go to the old site, which is not. I got to go there, but not walk around it, just to feel the energy of it. But it was still. They had brought a couple of the megalithic stones over that were in front of it that are probably way, way, way older. That Trevor actually just posted a photograph of these. They're really amazing. They don't even actually look like they go with that temple, but they're huge stones. You can still feel it. But my point is I'm surprised that in today's age, with everything we've lost, that we can create temples that are powerful, and we can repair temples that are broken and smashed up all over Cambodia. You got a temple here. You walk, another 500 feet, there's another temple there. And then there's another. It's crazy how many temples there are there. And a lot of them, they go between Hindu and Buddhism. And the Hindus are not comfortable with the sensuality, or vice versa. I forget what it is. So, they kind of mess with it. They kind of really get, and depending on if they're upset with the story of whatever happened with this particular god, it's, related to, they might smash it down. And a lot of the lingams they're powerful, like kind of crystalline stones that these are charged around, have either been broken, stolen, or damaged. But still, and I generally don't like to talk about feeling energies and being sensitive to, because it's not something a lot of people relate to. But I do want to say that that's part of what we all need to start working on, is that quiet feeling, and getting that feeling in your gut, and trusting
Yes.
your intuition, and walking into a room and kind of getting the vibe of it, and the person and the place, and then also feeling when something's not right, and being able to react to that as well.
And this can also be explained scientifically, like for people that find that like as something very esoteric or mystical. Actually, when you start sensing, is we can explain that through the plasma field. It's like you have your bioplasma field, and then as soon as your biofield starts interacting with something that is in dissonance, then it's like when someone touches you and you're warm, and someone has their hands very cold, and you say like, whoa, like something like that, because it's a different gradient of light what you're experiencing. So the bigger the mastery you get into perceiving the different gradients of frequency that it's coming into you, the more resilient that you become, and they won't affect you. Because in the end or in the beginning, the stronger that your plasma field is, the more it's because it's generating more coherence. Right, Frank?
I have like 5 things to say about that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so number one, it used to be like this hippie thing. Oh, can you see my aura or whatever? I was one of the like in the 1970s, I was doing Carillion photography, which is a way of photographing auras on things, and you could tear a leaf in half, and the aura of the part that was gone would still appear right on the film. And now we have technology to show auras, and there's several of them out there, and Emory's got a new one that I'm just learning about. I'm actually going to be doing this on Tuesday. They're going to be doing a scan, and it's from a photo, and it's
nice.
Yeah. So I'll be learning about that, but it's really important. You didn't know about this, but I had like a very strange thing happen in Sedona, and but I just want to talk about demons and lower energies for a minute. I had this. 10 o'clock at night. I stopped. I think I'm going to go in this gas station and just get a couple treats. I haven't had any treats for a while. And I come out the car, and it's like dark, nobody's around. And this gray-haired woman comes up, and she's got a bag, and she wants to have a ride, and I'm just like, I cannot leave her, but I don't see really well in the dark, and I don't know my way around town very well. And it ended up, of course, she's a healer. Of course, she's in Sedona, of course, right? And it was just the strangest thing at 10 o'clock at night. And then she says, can you give me a ride? I'm just kind of over. And it ended up being like 21 miles out of town, like she completely, and I'm just like, this is not normal. This is a demon. And I know how to handle this, right? So basically it was a struggle to get her there, get her out of the car, and then then I'm no GPS signal. I don't know where the hell I am. I don't see very well, right? I got her, and then I immediately blocked her off because I want to do a healing for you, and I can do it on this car, and I could do it where you live. I said, this is a rental car, and I'm in a Airbnb, and that's okay. Just I don't know. I felt like I should go to the cops and go, I don't know what this lady's wandering around at night and asking strangers for rides, Anyway, what I want to say is like these lower energies, they come across as being weak, and they come across as being needy, and they will just insert themselves and they'll cling on to you, right? You, as a practice, as a spiritual practice, one of the things that we need to do is to strengthen that field. Develop that connection to the divine spark, also the intuition, because what am I going to do? I'm going to throw her. I'm not going to give her a ride, and I'm going to throw out of my car. But I've got to protect myself and to deal with this energy here. And so I'm also talking about as far as like weather and also other things that happen. Your reality around you is creating and manifesting all the time, and your power is with intention making happen what you want, right? And if you're spending your time on fear, on being weak, or thinking you have to wait for somebody else to do it, that's exactly what's going to happen. So one of the things as we get into this higher vibration is we need to all take agency for who we are, our energy, our protection, our field. Right. So as of yesterday, my house in California, as 40,000 people, one quarter of a block away, got evacuated, and my house can't be evacuated. I have 40-year-old koi that you have to go every day and kind of check the filter and feed them or whatever. And my perimeter held, right, but it got kind of close there, right. And then I'm here in northern Michigan, and we just had floods. I couldn't come home until a couple of weeks ago because the airport wasn't even open because of floods. And now the town where I keep a boat on the river was on fire. It never burns up here, right? So that was a 15-mile. I'm like, okay, we're holding that perimeter. And then today we had fog and rain, and it came in. And I take responsibility for my protection and my safety and my reality. And I will go out in the yard and stand on my bare feet in the rain and just manifest, because there are times when it's needed. And by staying connected, staying grounded, holding that connection to the divine spark. If you want to think that you need Yeshua to help you get to God, that's okay, because whatever you believe is good, was going to be real for you. But just know that you have the power to make it happen. You don't have to depend on somebody else. You don't need to go to a reverend, a priest, a mullah. That's the biggest spell that we have, is that our power is not inside of us, right? And so that's what I'm saying about. So we get back to the table. So I'm blessing the water. Then my next thing is like, I don't need to bless your water. You can bless your own water, right? And then I'm sitting next to Jean Charles, who, like, the guy can make clocks stop. He's like, he makes electronics. He just like puts his hand over my arm and it goes zzz, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I know I don't have to explain this to you, okay? So it was just the strangest table. There's Emery Smith and there's JP sitting there and Sean's there, right? And yeah, that was.
And he's watching us, just that you know. He said hi, Jan Charles. He's yeah, watching us. So hi, Jan Charles. Yeah, a lot of friends joining us. I was muted, but I wanted to say that you touched upon something super important, which leads to free energy. Like, how can we as a collective, because I was talking about this yesterday with JP, actually, in our show. And the thing is that how can we talk about achieving free energy as a collective if we don't acknowledge or truly believe that our energy is ours? That's a reflection of free energy. Hey, you can access through your interdimensional body here. You don't need to go anywhere, like anywhere. Of course, there are places that amplify it, because you were also talking about Sedona. So Sedona is a massive vortex. There are vortexes everywhere. Yet there are places where those vortexes are magnified due to the anomalies of the land, due to the piezoelectric properties of the mountains, of the red land itself. But the thing is that, and we could go through the ferrite oxide that it's giving the red in the land, and how does that come together with free energy? Because if we say that there are some properties that this ferrite oxide, in which it stimulates, very specific, along with other type of technologies, how it amplifies, the vacuum force. So now the torus is a form of vacuum that it's constantly existing there. So how does that helps it? Because again, from the unified field, physics just are the same foundation, the same formula, going at different scales, as our dear friend Nassim Haramein very well talks about this, and William Brown and so forth. So how does that influences manifestation? Well, for manifestation to be, you need to generate a vacuum fluctuation that will lead to a torsion, that will lead to a singularity. And because that singularity is where manifestation is, that wholeness. So now imagine that you're harnessing tons of vortexes. If you go to let's say, a city that has a lot of disruption, like New York, and has a lot of interference, and the vortexes are like, and doesn't have red mountains. So then you say something, and as the wind, you say something, and or your thought, you will have a thought, and then the air will come up. So, but when you are in these places that have no interference and the energy is like zoom, so then whatever you're thinking, I don't know what you were thinking when you found the lady, or what was going around in your field. But the thing is that that power of manifestation is like, I this is one of the things that I love about these places, because they bring you into presence all the time, because you need to be really aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and so that also invites you to have your heart vortex super amplified. And what you were saying about the water, like structuring the water, and I would love for you to go into that, because that's one of the things that we feel very passionate about. And you can go through whatever you want to go, but this is a question that I would love for you to address too. So I know that you are very passionate about the water, as I am, and how important it is to the way that like most people address to is structured water. We know that it's adding a, a hydrogen proton, and then you get hydronium. So how do you see the importance of water coming up in the next few years? How deep is people going to relate to water? And because we were also talking about the ancient temples before going live, and the purity of all this, the components, and how we haven't been able to reconstruct them in that level of precision. So, except in Damanor, according to Lydia and Arturo's research, that they have researched that place very well. And by the way, as the Way of Being Foundation, we are having an upcoming trip there. So stay tuned. It will be by the end of the year. And so, how would you say that the water is coming up uh, in like the presence, its presence, how important is going to be in the upcoming years?
Okay, again, I have 5 things to say about that.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
okay, so number one, I was just with Praveen Mohan in Cambodia, and there's this crazy river that is literally the entire riverbed is built with lingams and sacred geometric kind of stones that are carved, and it charges the entire river. It goes to a waterfall that you can actually get in and swim, and the water is like sweet and soft. There's a feel to structured water, and once you get a sense of it, once you it's like very soft. And if you like, I don't recommend you drink river water in a jungle country, but it gets in your mouth or whatever a little bit. But also, like in Turkey, there was it had been, who knows what temple it was. It was currently like a Muslim temple, but there was water coming out, and again, it was structured water. You could feel it, you could taste it. The thing that we are so lucky is that we're all water, and water is just so magical. I mean, the Vita Austin's work is crazy, the way that she has been able to make it with a thought or with setting it on something, how it will record it and then reflect that water. It shows you how powerful it is. It gives you a reflection of your consciousness and
Yeah.
the abilities that you have. So imagine, like, my joke is, hey, I'll put my holy water up against any priest any day. My blessed water's badass, right? But it's not about me. It's about everybody should do this. And it's not just your water. I mean, your food is water too. So when you bless your food and you give gratitude to it, and you give gratitude, like if it's an animal, you give gratitude for that animal for giving its life. These things have ripples. These things are real. There's a reason why these things are ancient. And the fact that we've been hypnotized into thinking, oh, we can just go to burger and we can just get this thing out of a fountain here, and it doesn't matter if it's got chemicals in it, and everything is fine, is the hypnotism, right? So a part of my book, going through these exercises, part of them, talk about water, talk about blessing food, also about just basically intention, focusing your intention and getting control of what it is that you're giving power to, because you shouldn't be giving power to anything other than yourself. You're here as a expression of the divine spark to learn
Yes.
and grow. And if you want to learn and grow about being miserable and being controlled, I guess that's a choice, right? But most of us would like to be in our best possible timeline. And okay, so I was going to make an effort not to get complicated with this, but we've got timelines are splitting all the time. And we have choices depending on every minute we're making choices, and these timelines are splitting.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if you're watching me right now, you're on my best possible timeline, so you're doing something right. So congratulations.
I couldn't agree more. I love that. Actually, I might bring it from now on, if you don't mind. If it doesn't
I don't want to skirt around the answer to your question, but my main answer is that we all need to read my book, but I'll make videos and little short clips of these things, because they are super critical and important, and they are so easy to think that, oh, it means nothing, and that's all a part of us thinking that we do not have the power that we have, right? Once you realize how powerful you are, you realize that you start taking care with what you're thinking, the intention, the words you're speaking, what you're writing down, just going out into the middle of the desert with dowsing rods or a pendulum, and then, going under this cactus because it tells me to, and digging a hole and finding an artifact this big that in the middle of this expansive thing, it shows you how connected we are. Like I just wrote this in my book yesterday because my first editor is a materialist physicist, right? And he was asking me, well, how did you find these artifacts? And I said, well, I used dowsing rods and a pendulum. And he laughed out loud. And I'm like, okay, you know me, I'm not an idiot. I'm not lying to you. And your mind doesn't go to what are the physics of that? Maybe what's going on there. He's a quantum physicist too, right? And I'm thinking, this is how strong the programming is. It's like,
exactly.
If anybody, you should freaking know that I am not kidding. I mean, I haven't posted anything yet about this adventure that I went after I left you guys, when I went in the middle of nowhere with Anthony, and we had a couple guys with us, and it's just like miles of nothing, right? And the rods go, okay, here, and it's hot sun, and you're going to go, okay, I think we have to dig under this plant with all the thorns in it right here. And I'm like, I'm hoping, that, because I don't want to make us like we did. And then sure enough, there's artifacts there, right? Fake artifacts, right? Fake alien artifacts, right? That have been there for how many thousands of years. Everywhere, that the more trust you have in your own, your own power, your own intuition, your own agency, the more the synchronicities happen, the more things align.
Exactly. And you know why? Thank you for bringing that up, because it's a phrase that I have been sharing it constantly throughout the whole week in every show, which is, but now you add something amazing. And by the way, cheers. I also see that you have a cup, so cheers. Yeah. But anyway, so, I say, being in the right place at the right time, at the right moment, with the right people, doing the right thing. Now, to add to that, your choice, your perception that already is. It's not about, it's not that you won't be moving, that you won't be shifting companion, that you won't be doing another thing, but coherence, the harmony that it brings into your reality the moment that you assume, that you acknowledge, that you know for sure that at that moment it is a reality, that you're in the best place at the right moment with the right people doing the right thing, that is going to release a cascade of coherence for the rest of the spatiotemporal constants continue to branch harmonically without overlapping, because you were talking also about timeline shifting, time warping, time control, and so forth. So the more that we step up into our power and bringing in coherence right here, right now, we become the alpha line, to say it somehow. We become the highest timeline because we are truly embodying and grounding that level of coherence. And that is something that sometimes we forget, because there is so much control trying to take place that if we, okay, yes, remember the alpha timeline or the alpha spatiotemporal constant grounds itself so deeply through the heart, through the heart vortex. And you were saying about the rods, you reminded me of Max, the elder in Tula, who generously supports us in these expeditions. At least all the expeditions that I do are guided by Max. And what about his methods? You saw them. He opens space or generates like a unified field, but with an obsidian mirror and a pendulum. And the pendulum starts pointing out to the place where the artifacts are. Yes, we have done GPR, which is a ground penetration radar, scans on the field. Yes, but we're talking about honoring and explaining how could those mystic practices can actually give away the right location of to find an artifact, an ancient artifact. I would love to know how you would explain it. I just want to say how I would explain the obsidian mirror with the pendulum. And it's the frequency, precisely because the emission that the oof, I'm super high energetically speaking. Ooh. I'm receiving like a lot of codes. Thank you, because we are communicating at many levels. So
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
so you have a black hole. The black obsidian represents a black hole. It's a portal. The ancient would say that. So you have a black hole. Why? Because of how it is absorbing light, how the obsidian mirror, so well polished, is absorbing light as the pupil in our eye, and as a very same black body or black hole, it's absorbing light. So the way that it's absorbing light is absorbing the information around the field. So imagine that this obsidian mirror is absorbing the light while he is doing a pendulum with any type of object. Sometimes it's a crystal, sometimes it's a very same tiny artifact, and he starts doing the pendulum. So the way that this absorption of light is interacting with the pendulum, when the black hole is absorbing light, it's also emitting gravitational waves, which is related to the memory. It's not that the black obsidian mirror is remembering. It's about memories information. It's transmitting the information that it's reading from the field. It's absorbing light, it's absorbing information, and then it's feeding back through gravitational waves what it already read. And the pendulum is receiving it. So the pendulum will answer to what Max is asking, because crystals have their own consciousness. So they're communicating. What would you say? What's your reading on that?
Okay,
How do
this time I only wrote down 10 things. Okay, so I was out with another uh, guy from the small town, just a very humble guy, didn't have any teeth, and he had a piece of crystal. It was a little mask, a little artifact mask, and he would hold it up to the sun. And I don't know what he was doing, right? But he also did a pendulum, and I had a pendulum. I'll generally I can use anything. I'll maybe use my art crystal if I've got it handy, right? And I want to keep grounding this back to people watching what they can do as a practical nature with this, right? I literally do this every day. I have so many things to do every day. And so I will make a list, like an impossible list that I cannot get done, right? And then I'll go, and I always ask, show me yes, show me no. And it'll give me and I'll do it a couple times just to make sure it's consistent. It always is, but I just do it twice, and yes is like this way and no is this way or whatever. And then I'll go down the list and I'll go number one. And then, it'll tell me. And if it says yes, I'll circle it. And if it says no, I won't circle it. And then I will start, with the things that I'm supposed to, that it told me to do. Because we all know of times when, only got to do these things today. And then the first thing ends up taking you the whole day, right? And you're going to get nothing else done. And invariably I'll get through the whole list, and then I'll get a couple of the other things done. This is a practical thing that everybody can do. And I've had a lot of people say, well, it's your higher self, and it's, giving you, a muscle movement. And I'm like, okay, that could be true. Right. But I also think that I want to bring up the word faith, because I think this is something I wrote about in my book. Faith, I think, is a inversion. The word faith is not a good word. I think it was either mistranslated or it was done on purpose, because it's not faith. It's knowing. You have to know, I know I'm going to go to Sedona and meet Emery Smith, right? So, that one, I might have gamed that one a little bit by talking to you first, but it has to do with this kind of like manifesting and using our powers. It's coming to a place where it's going to happen. When you use the concept of faith, you're outsourcing your agency. And so if I have that pendulum, or I have the dowsing rods, or I have the obsidian mirror, if I know it's going to work and I know it's going to show it to me, all the physics or whatever else is going on doesn't matter, because I know it's going to work, right? And you could probably workshop a bunch of explanations for what's going on there. But ultimately, what's most important is that it works. And the fact that anybody can do this. This is part of like clearing yourself, becoming sensitive to, that inner feeling, doing your shadow work, so you're not being, manipulated by feelings or things that aren't real, that aren't in front of you, that you're living in that moment. The senses we have are so limited that I make a really strong case that it's been done to us on purpose. And I think that part of what's happening now is we're opening these capabilities back up. And part of it is by knowing that we can do it and not thinking it's crazy, or there's no such thing as ESP or intuition, or being able to see something manifesting. But I had to come up with metaphors, because in the book, you have these crazy numbers like a quintillion, or things like, and you just can't even conceptualize of it, right? So when it comes to our senses and what the electromagnetic field is around us, basically the best metaphor I could come up with is if you had a beach and you look as far as you could see that beautiful beach going, right? And it just goes on for miles, and it's a beautiful clear day, and you take one grain of sand off that beach, that literally represents how much we're actually seeing of what's around us, which is why I say it's so important to feel that divine spark coming through you, that protection, that white light, because there's bullshit going on around. There's entities that will suck your energy. They will feed on you. You don't see them. There's people that can see. There are people that have the vision, right? But we've been blinded. We've been made deaf. Our senses have been reduced down, and we can use technology. We can, we can see with X-rays, and we can see other light things with equipment, but the power that we have still inside of us is that intuition. And when I see people like JP is very intuitive, the night that we were at that restaurant, like
yeah,
sometimes lights and the feeling of a place will make me feel a little woozy, right? But I was like, I just feel really weird. This is like something's weird, right? And he goes, dude, is there like a time split or something going on? This is really weird. I'm like, okay, it's not just me then, right? And then so I got my pendulum out and I'm like, okay, he said, I wonder if there's a war or something happened bad. And I'm like, okay, did something happen to cause this? And he said, no. And I said, is there a timeline split happening right now? And he said, yes. And then I said, was it due to something happened, in the news in the world that we haven't heard about? It said, no. And I'm thinking, it's probably these people sitting down at this dinner right now that's making a timeline split,
And we were talking about that. And we were talking also about, like, that day, the conference finished and we did a major timeline shift. And you and I were talking about when we came to our houses, back to our houses, and how we were integrating that timeline shift along with all the other timelines that were, at some point already settled. So how we were weaving, those
calendars moved, dates moved. We're like going, what happened? I had this all figured out. Like this, it was a major shift. I mean, okay, I know it's a good one because
yes.
That's what we worked on. But we took a big turn.
How would you explain that to people? Because for me, for instance, it was okay. So I'm a new being. I'm upgraded. My DNA shifted. And now I had already, like this schedule, these timelines that were apparently all set up for the time that I came back. And the thing is that for me, what they were showing to me is that some things were not fitting anymore. Like many ways to describe it. One is that there were things that were not fitting anymore. So it was like, okay, so now no. And other things we're trying to is about the frequency that I'm carrying now. It's way more accelerated.
Yes.
My reality was, so now it's fitting this level of acceleration, which is the natural spin. Speaking of spins, it's the cosmic spin, and trying to fit it into another spin. So it's trying to level up all the frequencies and trying not to, just close the door dramatically to the things that were planned before. But it's about bringing in this rapid speed into the reality, into what I had already planned. How would you define it? Oh, I'm very hot.
Yeah, okay, so
you, Frank, I don't know what we are downloading here, but
I'm telling you, I could tell you exactly. Okay, so imagine, the frequency of the people that were at the table that night, the shifting that happened. And by the way, let me just again say, everybody who's watching this, I am not kidding around. If you're watching this, you're on a very good timeline, and you need to have some discipline about it. When you go to bed tonight, say, I'm going to wake up on my best possible timeline. And then when you wake up in the morning, say, I just woke up on my best possible timeline. And I'm not kidding. This is a way that you use intention. You are powerful beings, right? Absolutely. And the fact that you're watching us right now, we're on a hell of a timeline right now. And things accelerate. Like my editor that got a call tonight after this, she's like ready to do an intervention with me because I'm telling her all the things that are going on in the next few weeks. She goes, how can you do any more? And I'm like, listen, I just know it's going to be okay. Like, for instance, this conference is coming together out of thin air. People usually plan them a year in advance, and it's 3 months from now, right? And it's just like falling together like this, like, and then, I'm going to come and see you in a few days, and we're going to do something incredible, right? And then,
Yes.
and then,
Yes.
I'm finishing my book, which is basically, I have all three editors have gotten back to me and said that it changed the way that they see everything. And I'm not saying that to brag, but because that was my goal, was to give them, it's basically not for you. It's not for probably a lot of people watching this, because it gives them a lot of things that they can look up that are our normie friends that, we love, can go
Yes.
out and they can look things up and go, wow, that's true. I couldn't believe that. Wow, that's true. And by the time they get to like 50% of the way through the book, they're going to be going, what the hell's going on? Right. And then I kind of help guide them through the rest of it. So anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
Birthday, Ceci. I'm sorry. Happy birthday, Ceci. She was with us at the Rise of the Guardians. Love you. And yes, you're in your highest timeline. We are all in our highest timeline. I think I shared with you this, Frank, and I think with all the beautiful galactic tribe, cosmic tribe, is every day when I wake up, I say, I'm in my highest timeline as the most evolved version, embodying the most evolved version of myself, in the right place at the right time, with the right people, doing the right thing to serve my divine soul mission, planetary and interplanetary wise. And yes, we will be meeting in a bit. We have your conference, the beautiful conference that you are putting together and that Emily Infinity is helping you with. You want to talk about that? But just before, I know that I already asked, but just before, I just want to add, things are accelerating. And when a shift is going to happen, the more torsion and the faster the spin goes, is because it needs to go fast, 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 fast to meet with that which is already waiting, generate that torsion and access to a higher truth. And I know that we are bringing heaven to earth, right, Frank? Each one of us, we're bringing heaven to earth. So then we are accelerating innerly everything that needs to bring higher truths. And that's what we're doing. And I know that we will be bringing a lot of higher truths in your conference. Do you want to talk about that?
So yes, but first I realized that I never answered your question about free energy. So I'm going to say that really quickly, is that what's happening? I see it. I see it. It's going to just come from everywhere. Nassim, I was with him last December in New York, and he is publicly announcing his device, right? It's going to come out. It'll basically be a device that will work anywhere. It will generate a lot of energy. Like, it'll do like a really major size house, like something like 29 kilowatts a day or whatever. And it won't be inexpensive, but it'll, like, after 10 years, it will pay for itself. So it's like a solar panel that works day or night, no matter where you are on Earth, underground, underwater, whatever, right? And it's going to just give energy. And I see people coming up with designs and things that I'm like, ooh, that feels right. Ooh, that feels right. We are going to be getting energy devices downloaded from all over the globe, and it's not going to be stoppable. Like,
Yes.
They won't be able to murder us fast enough. All right. They're going to be just, they won't be able to keep up with it. Right. So let me tell you about this conference. JP, it's his fault. Okay. Because I was always thinking, okay, this place is one of the most gorgeous places on the earth. In the summer. In the winter, it's a little chilly, right? In fact, it's just like for the last 10 years, it's been voted by TripAdvisor the best place to go in the summer, right?
And it all began with I'm sorry to interrupt, but it all began with the documentary that we will also be talking about. But it all began with the documentary.
Yes. Okay. Because okay. Yeah. All of a sudden, like, well, I don't think of myself as being like, on the same stage as all these people who are now my friends, and so I was very honored to be like, communicating with JP and working with him on this documentary, right? And because I do feel like I'm a good filmmaker, and I felt like I could really bring something to the project. And I know at first he didn't know a lot about me, he had seen me, we had known each other from before. But speaking of that, it was my first JP hug was in Sedona, and I was like, this dude's like twice my size. He's a big guy. You don't realize it till he like gives you a hug, and he's a big guy. Anyway,
I know, I know.
so he's talking about this. Okay, you can look this up in some of his videos. He's talked about this before, but where he lives, there's woods behind his house, and he was back there, and he gets a feeling like something's happening, and there was a ship, there, and this tall being, and the being, he said, gave him an acorn, right? And I'm like, acorn? And then I'm like, 24 hours later, I'm thinking, wait. So, and by this time I'm in touch with him. I'm like, JP, did you mean a pine cone? And he's like, oh yeah, pine cone. Because, he's English is not his first language. And so he doesn't always come across as articulate as he really is, because, I mean, I only speak one language and I don't do it that well.
Yes.
Yeah, for him to be able to speak all these languages, that's amazing. But so I said, okay, JP, a being from a ship gave you a pine cone. I said, I've been all over the world, and I see like these, reliefs and statues of these being holding a pine cone, and they got a bag in the other hand, right? I said, I have 3 of those bags. I have 3 of them, and I have friends who have more, right? I said, what if we get together? I said, I've seen you do a skywatch with like 1,000 people. I bring ships down with a couple people. I said, man, we get together. We'll get you bring the pine cone. You still got it? He goes, oh yeah, it's over there on the shelf. I got it. And I'm like, dude. And then we got the handbag. We'll rock it, And so then he was doing a podcast, and he said, yeah, we're going to do this camp out. We're going to do a skywatch. I'm thinking, okay, I was just thinking about getting the handbag to you and go doing this, but I'm thinking, well, I guess we could do that. So then I'm thinking, okay, takes some organization. It's like a conference. It would be a thing. So I bring it up to my brothers, who are as normie as normie gets, right? And they're like, oh yeah, we could do that. I mean, I was expecting them to go, no, there's just no way we can't. I said, well, my brother goes, how many hundreds of people? I'm like, hundreds of people. Okay. And he goes, well, yeah, we could get buses, and then we can have it catered. We've got a rally building, and we can do, and I was like, okay. And then as of a couple of days ago, I'm thinking, I got to go to Mexico to film this thing we're doing. And then I've got to go to Italy with Trevor to release the information about the Sphinx, the second Sphinx. And then my book is coming out.
Someone asked, and if at some point we can address to that, whatever you can say about the second Sphinx, because someone, Alexa M49, asked about this the second Sphinx.
Okay, so what happens? Let me just tell you what is going on here. Is that the last time when the Coffre project originally released those scans, I had known about it in advance because I know how to keep my mouth shut. And Trevor had shown me William Brown's scans that overlapped with Biondi's scans, and neither one of them knew about it. We knew, so that was like just confirmation, the best kind of scientific confirmation you could have done 10 years apart with different technologies that overlap the same results, right? So I'm on Easter Island watching this press conference go and seeing people just crap all over them. YssaH, who has no business even talking about it, saying, this is just bull, and I've got a list of the people that were being nasty.
He's in the house, by the way.
Is he? Aw.
Yeah.
Well, so I literally went in front of a Moai and gave a little speech about this is not going to age well. You have no idea what you people are talking about. This is a new technology. You can't look this up on Google. It's not the conventional SAR technology, blah, blah, blah. All right. Part of the problem was everybody, and this is what my book addresses. This was a precipitating event for this book coming to me, was because I noticed that even scientific people that should know better, they're all just stuck in this binary of yes, no, right, wrong, fake, true. And like I said, the universe doesn't work that way. Here we have a brand new protocol. Maybe 200 people on the earth would be capable of understanding it. I think I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on just from the Manu Sevicidae. Oh, Trevor has to always help me with his name. Sevicidae had done a blog where he had a chat with ChatGPT, and I recreated it, which kind of gave me an idea of how you would filter and how you would do it in the process of it. Anyway, it illustrated to me that there was a really big problem with how everybody thinks, how human information is organized, how we handle new information, how we get angry when something goes against what we think is real. It becomes an emotion. It becomes a part of us. We think, which is completely ridiculous. Information is not who we are, right? So this whole kind of like thing opened up to me of like, what is going on here? So part of it was the whole press conference was in Italian, and people did not take the time to even use the tools online to translate the captions and to understand what they were saying. And they got really caught up in, like, Filippo will go there. He will go for esoteric. Like, he's a brilliant scientist, but he will not back off of like esoteric stuff. And so a lot of the art and the imagery from the press conference, had things that were quite spiritual, and people just got completely distracted by that and didn't look at the message. So I said to Trevor, and we're doing it. We're going to go there, get really good recordings of everybody in Italian, and then we're going to translate, using technology to English. And then I want to do as many languages as I can, just like a plug-in in premium CapCut, right? And then we'll get somebody there that speaks both languages to make sure we don't have any crazy translations that aren't quite right, and get it out as soon as we can afterwards, so that the information will be out as clearly and as quickly as possible. But basically, the reason that I get to hang out with Trevor is because I know how to keep my mouth shut. But we both have been kind of kept, in the dark, because Filippo knows how excited we are. So he said, just what you've seen publicly, the head is really big. He hasn't told us what it looks like. He may not be able to tell, because these scans, they have biases, and like currently the bias has been for horizontal, doing the Giza Plateau, and I know he's been working for a year doing the vertical. He's been doing the horizontal. So this particular structure, I know he's been focusing on it, and it's a smaller area. It takes an incredible amount of processing to do it, but he says he could see the paws and he could see the very large head. And so we don't know whether it's like a lion head, an animal head, or maybe a person with a headdress. But he has assured us that it is a sphinx. So that's been public. I'm not speaking out of school on that. Yeah.
That's so amazing. And remember in my presentation at the Rise of the Guardians, how the very same geometry that the map, shows in the coordinates of the two sphinxes,
Yep.
is exactly the same way that the genome behaves, generating this spatial torsional density. Like our genes generate that, it's called that pattern that the ones who built and put those sphinxes there, they were recreating or reverse engineering the way in which our genome behaves by creating a spatial torsional density, so that the genome at some point the DNA mainly, what will come to it is that the DNA will generate that spatial torsional density to unlock dormant genes. How does this relate to the Sphinx?
Okay, so Trevor has some incredible information coming out about this. and I don't know if you hear pops and bangs, but I have fireworks like going off over here in Mackinac. They do fireworks on Saturday nights off my back porch. I have fireworks. When you come and hang out with me, we'll go watch fireworks off my back porch. Anyway, so the entire Giza Plateau is encoded. Like, we talk about a hall of records, a library of records. I think Trevor and I are going to find it. Like I pretty much know where it is, and he does too. There's more than one, but the entire Giza Plateau is basically a hall of records. It's exactly what you're talking about. These geometries and the way that it was laid out are basically encoded for everything. In fact, Trevor's got a video he's been working on, and I don't want to talk out of school, but basically there's temporal aspects encoded into the freakiest way you can possibly imagine is all I can say. I don't want to spoil anything for him because, he works very hard and
I know. And he has his timing. So whatever. Yes.
Yeah. But so all I'm going to say is when I saw that drawing in your presentation, I was like, yep. Because my theory is, and I'm pretty sure he agrees with me, is that the entire layout of Giza Plateau is a hall of records in plain sight, right? Which is what your intuition, your drawing is showing on a level of DNA, as far as the structure of space memory, the lattice, Okay.
Yeah, this is where I'm heading to, because so if you see, so it is recreating the biotechnology. So what's happening within is that those patterns are created to activate dormant memories. What is dormant memories? Records. So, and in that intermediate point, the DNA that creates that has this tetrahedral shape. What does that mean? Pyramidal shapes. Just as the pyramids in that intersection. So the pyramids are playing a huge role, so that the field that they are creating and emitting all the way to the hall of records activate those codes into the cosmic nexus, just as it happens in our biology. That's what I wanted to say. And by the way, Trevor is saying, yes, indeed, you're saying it well. There is a theory that the mastabas are laid out in a sequence describing 12-strand DNA. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Trevor. You and I, we need to talk. Perhaps we can do also a trying show together talking about this. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to because, I've never seen a manifestation engine that is like Trevor Grassi. The way that the information comes to him, the people that he reaches out to, the way that he puts it together, the fact that he ran into John Anthony West when he was a young man and then got shown the right books. It's like I get really lazy because I have him as a friend. I can ask him stuff. I don't have to go look it up. I have the most amazing library called Trevor Grassi as a friend. And it's like it just keeps evolving. The story keeps this, and the thing, it's like Nassim Haramein, his first paper came out and it should have just shook the world, right? And this is another one of those things where I'm like, what is going on that nobody understands, that he's basically unifying physics here, I think it's like, it's going to take, he was just enough ahead of the curve that it's all kind of going to synchronize in and come together. I know it's a little frustrating for him. And I think it maybe needed to because he's very energized, when I saw him last time. I don't know if everybody knows who we're talking about, Nassim Haramein. I didn't know who he was till I sat next to him on a plane, and that kind of changed everything.
You didn't know him in this lifetime.
Yeah, there's that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway,
But
Yes.
the conference you were saying, okay, so the conference name, just that you know, guys,
Oh,
everything will be later on available in Mortals of Earth. I will be sharing the Frank's website, but the name of the conference will be Disclosure at Mackinac, right?
Mackinac. Yeah. And it's going to be hosted by my family's place, Mackinac Mill Creek Camping. We have like 1,000 campsites on a mile of lakeshore on the Straits of Mackinac. It's completely like gorgeous heaven. We have 100 cabins. We have 2 motels. We have a bunch of house rentals that are on the lake. And part of this is going to be, we're going to do a sky watch. And I've never been skunked on a sky watch, but we're just going to like ask for the angels for, okay, let me just quickly make a note so I don't forget to I want to talk about angels for a second in a minute here. But so we're going to leave it open for the days of the conference on what night we do the sky watch, depending on when we get the clearest sky. Because I have a property that we're going to keep the location secret because we're going to have another special surprise there, perhaps a pop-up museum of special artifacts that will have never been seen before, and with some of the experts that originally, go way back, like Mark Russell and the person who took me out in the field, and we discovered them together, Anthony Mickle. And Drago Reed, who I was introduced to by Trevor. And Trevor, hope you're keeping these dates open in your calendar because I'm telling everybody you're going to be there. Yes. Okay, so August 30th, 31st, and the 1st of September. We might do something either side of that, but it's the last couple days of August. You can remember that, the first day of September. And you're not going to believe who's coming, right? Like we haven't like nailed them down yet, but the people who want to come are amazing. This is like unbelievable. It's like I said, I thought there's too much that I can't do. It's too soon. And it's just falling. It's like, it's happening whether I want it or not. It's coming together, right?
It's meant to be. That's what happens when something is so meant to be. It easily comes together.
It's this, I'm telling everybody too, like the timeline that you're on with us, with YssaH and I right here, get ready, hold on, put your seatbelt on, because stuff is happening really fast. So
enjoy the ride.
Yes. Oh, and let me say one more thing too, is like, okay, when we're talking about, the energy and creating the energy, and you're talking about, waking up and you're like your whole thing about the timeline, I'm covering it. I have a briefer one yet, but what I'm saying though is like, let's say, today you're stuck in Mexico City traffic, right? Or I end up and something that I planned for doesn't happen, right? Instead of going to being disappointed or thinking something's wrong or upset, you're saying, okay, why did this happen? What am I missing here? What is going on? Is there a person here I'm supposed to meet? Or maybe I was supposed to be late to miss something else. And, put your antenna up, because those things are important. They're not interruptions. They're not wrong, right? Tonight, maybe we were, an hour late because somebody had to see this an hour later, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it also helped me get the last chapter of my book out to my editor, so she could review it as well. But the other thing is, I look at, if you want to use like religious training or angels, right? My understanding and use of angels, and I've only started doing this in the last maybe year, is that they're like a quantum signature. Okay, they may be a being, they may be a plasma being, they may be an intelligence. I'm sure they are, right? But when you tune into that frequency of like, they all have different characteristics, right? It's fireworks. I don't know if you're hearing boom, 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 but that's what's going on. The angels are telling me yes, boom, boom, boom. You're tuning into basically a quantum frequency of that kind of energetic help when you're trying to create something consciously. Because I'm saying it's your divine spark. You are the powerful one. You are creating it, but that's a tool. It's like a hammer out of a box, right? I'm going to use Archangel Michael to protect me. I'm going to use Angel Ariel to make the weather not rain until I get this done. And these are just basically think of them as quantum tools in your kit. There's a lot of energy that's been put in them by other human beings over the years that kind of makes them stronger, right? And it's the same thing for these psychopaths that do the negative stuff. They're creating, they're manifesting that garbage, right? So they have no chance when enough people find out what they've been doing, how evil they are, how arrogant, selfish, and psychopathic they are. Just knowing that your spirituality, your goodness, your intention, they have no chance.
Yes, yes, I couldn't agree more. One of the things that I love mostly about knowing how the universe works is focus and coherence. Like the power resides where you put your focus on, because it's not that you're not acknowledging what is there and is bothering you, but it's where you're focusing your energy, because wherever you focus it, it will give life to. Just putting it in simple terms, if you stop feeding or giving water to something, what will happen? It dies. So what you're giving your energy to is what actually will prevail and thrive. So co-creating a new earth, co-creating all these amazing projects, conferences, trips, sacred trips, greeting, network, let's say Earth Grid or Cosmic Nexus, in the Earth, reactivating, doing whatever you feel like you're being called to. Even if it's just staying in your couch reading something and sending emissions signaling through your pineal gland and sending those codes to your friend, to your lover, to your whoever, to your dog, to your cat, and test. Why? Because we are in times of observing and sensing ourselves and how we are interacting with the field. We are receiving massive upgrades, outloads. It's the time we're here, and we're talking about contact. I was laughing the other day because we're talking about making contact. Yes, making contact within first, and believe me, the beings will come to you the more that you go deep within. It's like, at least from my experience, this is what I can tell you. Sometimes as much as you're like trying to, hey, like take me or whatever, it's like the deeper that you are within, the more that you will be contacting with them, because they use the simple foundations that the universe does, which is coherence and love coherence, heart coherence. Most of course there are all type of galactic groups, but if you want, again, like to focus and nourish your connection with the ones that are in your highest timeline, then it's it's simple, and it's very interesting how we were educated that things need to be very complicated to be truth true,
That's
because
that's
yeah.
exactly where I want to go. Because when you say the word codes, people think of something complicated. Not everybody, but I'm just saying it's one of those things that people can go, codes. It's like a code breaker, and it's complicated, and it's. I want to just take a moment to say, when these things happen, when YssaH saying like codes, it's not like you're. Sometimes it is. It's not like you're seeing a bunch of numbers or something complicated. What it is just like these doors unlocking, right? And like, don't be intimidated by the technological names and the geometric names that we use, because what it is basically it's your perception, and it's how you're opening your vision, and your blindness is lifting, right? So, like, for instance, we talk about the boogosphere, right? And
Mhm.
we were chatting. Like, is it okay to talk a little bit about what you learned today? I was going to tell you, like, what. Okay,
Yeah,
this.
that confirmation. Yeah.
this amazing person was able to get me in contact with the Boogosphere. Like what? Like it was, and about a week before, you said to me, you said, "Do you sense it? Do you feel it yet?" Right? And I was like, "What?" And then like the next day, I'm sitting in the chair over there. I'm like, "Okay, there you are." It was like in my breath, and it was like talking to me, and I was like, "Okay, you're alive. Okay, hi. Um, listen, I gotta pack a bunch of stuff here, and I gotta like do a bunch of things. I can't really do this right now. I had to ask the Boogosphere for like a rain check, you know. I'm like, so I got a hold of you, and I'm like, I feel so embarrassed that I made contact, and I had to tell it I was busy, you know. Um, it was very polite. So far, when these things have happened, like the Khafre Pyramid did that to me, and it was very, they're very polite, and it's like, and it's hard to explain unless this happens to you, but it's like they're intelligent. They're not like saying words, but there's an open, and it was, I don't know how to, this is the first time it happened where it was in my breath, right? So when I actually got in the presence of it, I expected not to be able to get near it, right? And so then I'm next to it, and then I'm feeling like I have to be respectful. I don't want to just grab it or touch it, and I don't think that I should, right? So I was just kind of feeling the energy. I have a picture of me going like this, and then as I was doing it, I accidentally bumped it, and I was like, "Oh no, I bumped it!" And then I was so shocked that I bumped it that I bumped it again, and it felt like a palm went up my spine, and then went around my neck at the top, like in a very pleasant way. I went, "Oh, it likes me." You know, it was like, it was not subtle at all. And and then people were saying, "Well, do you think it's dying? Do you think it's dead? Do you think it's still, you know, it's not as energetic it was?" I'm like, whatever it is, it's still there, and it's still
Yeah.
present, and it's still, you know, and I can't describe whether because I've had contact with things that aren't necessarily, they have consciousness, but they're not necessarily, they have a heartbeat or something, but there's an intelligence and a communication there. Um,
Yes, definitely.
anyway,
Definitely.
so but that has to do with this thing about codes, right? So it, that communication where it was in my breath, things were happening. It was telling me stuff, and it wasn't necessarily that I was seeing numbers or, you know, how to unlock a safe or a code in that way. But I kind of want to like help people open up their understanding and their, and to their awareness and their intuition to understand that these new ways we're going to be perceiving the universe around us will require a different kind of sensibility than we're used to having, you know?
Yes, yes. And thank you for saying that. I was just thinking about the trailer, but you know what? I think it will be, yeah, let's what do you think? Shall we, because Trevor was telling me to meet next week, so perhaps we can do it together. What do you think?
Yeah. So, well, we'll explain to everybody just so we can tempt you and tell you what we're teasing
Yeah.
you with.
Yeah.
Um, so there's, I don't know how much we're going to say about this, but there's an incredible find that we're going to explore coming up really soon, and we have a bunch of incredible people working with us, and it's basically um, I thank you for asking me. I'm directing a documentary about this, and I made a trailer about it, and I tried to make the trailer as exciting as I feel about this, to give it the importance that I feel that it has. And I hope I got that across in the trailer when people see it, that they will understand how important and pivotal, and that this is um, this is an event that should have happened again and again and again. These discoveries have been made, but somehow, you know, the mainstream and people do not see it. It gets covered up. There was a whole TV series done on the Discovery Channel along this line, but what you're bringing to the game here is something even beyond that. It's not just something that was found, it's even more evidence, right?
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say for right now.
Let's
Let
just
me
the tip
just,
of the iceberg. Let's put it that way.
let's just say it's one of the most exciting things that has not been snatched away from us and hidden away. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that this goes public. We're not letting it into the hands of any corporate or big money people. It's going to be handled in a way that it's going to be exposed. Okay. And everyone's going to have a chance to see what is discovered.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So stay tuned because we will be showing it very soon. Um, and yeah, so again, stay tuned because it's not only about the love that Frank has put on it. It's like you will see it with your own eyes. Again, it's just a trailer. We are working on the rest of the content, and as Frank beautifully said, this is for humanity. This is not just for a couple of people. This is for humanity. And as you know, I'm also in the foundation, the Earth Arc mission. So we will be sharing also a very exciting news soon. So again, stay tuned because it's all involved with this movement of disclosure and not only about bringing out information, yet how to use it for the benefit of
Let
human
me
evolution.
just let me just say, underestimate YssaH, underestimate me. That'll be fun. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so here is Trevor. Yes, you came perfectly. You were messaging in Facebook. I don't know why my messages in Facebook don't show up in in the feed here with all the messages of YouTube. Brandon Niblet, it's also in the house. Hey guys, love this conversation happening. Good energy happening. Love you all. I could stay talking to you for hours. We will do definitely a second round, and we will be bringing Trevor as well. Uh,
At least this time we shared our conversation. We're always going, people should be hearing what we're talking about, so finally we've shared a little bit of our conversations, but there's so many times that we have a chance to talk, and it's just like we need to do this, where people can experience it and hear what we have to give.
yes, yes. So, and having fun while doing it, because
Yes,
it's
yes.
always such a treat talking to you. As I said from the very beginning, like I said it in different words, but I can say it now in others, which is you're one of the most humble and heart expanded beings that I know. So I am very honored and thankful, grateful, and excited to continue walking the path alongside with you and Trevor, who also, like holds such Christ codes. You can see it in his eyes, the way that he looks and how committed he is to his mission. So, and everyone, you guys, thank you so much for your beautiful comments, my dear galactic, cosmic, heavenly tribe. And so, if people want to find your book, where can they find it?
Um, if you follow me at Mortals of Earth, MORTAL, Mortals of Earth, it's on Facebook, TikTok, Substack, X, God help me, everywhere. But right now on Amazon, you can just type my name, Frank Rogala, and Saving Civilization, and the pre-order comes up for the Kindle version. I don't have a page count yet, and I'm going to be, after this, talking to my editor and trying to, we're going to try to get that done, but it's coming out. You'll be able to get it on the 28th of June because energetically, that's when I've been told it has to come out. So I'm going to obey. Okay. We're going to make it happen.
Okay, and again, stay tuned for the conference, stay tuned for the trailer and for the whole documentary. It's going to be, as Frank beautifully said, underestimate as much as you want. We'll
That'll be
reserve
fun.
for the events to happen.
That'll be
Uh,
fun. Yeah. Yep.
yes, yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Love you all. And by the way, you're still on time to go into the join us at the Star Knowledge Conference, 5th to 8th, 7th, 5th to 7th of June. We have also bases 2026 in England. Then Sedona 5D events, Chaco Canyon in the beginning of August, and then Frank's conference. So there are a few events. If you want to join me, if you want to join us, to the beautiful speakers that will be joining me in each one of these events, and all the love that is being put out there by the producers, because it's not easy, and Frank will tell, it's not easy to put well, it can be, yet it's a lot, just that you know. But anyway, and mainly the love and unity and this high vibe that is shared among all of us, generating big shifts in reality. So again, thank you all, and until next time, HUNUH.